Hello! Well, in this film I'm going to show you my Singer leather patcher sewing machine and just give you an idea of what it can do and how to thread it up, and also have a little chat about sewing machines in general. So here goes. Hope you enjoy it, and it's hello from Tom. I have two leather sewing machines, and I've got this Singer patcher, also known as the Singer 29K. And I also have a very big harness maker's machine, a Singer 133K. But I really like this machine because it's actually very effective for a wide range of leatherworking jobs. Now, just on sewing machines very quickly in general, I would say if you're thinking about getting a sewing machine for leather, be careful, because there are a lot of people out there saying you can use an ordinary domestic machine. Well, the simple answer is yes, you can if you're sewing very, very, very thin leather indeed. But it's a bit of a struggle. I have done it and it's not ideal. So if you want to sew light, like clothing garment leathers, something like this Singer patcher is a great machine. It really does do a nice job. I'll show you in a minute, put a sample through. So, great machine for lighter stuff. I mean, if you're sewing leather, for example, up to about 1.5 millimeters, so 2 layers, so 3 millimeters in total, this will do it quite happily. I have sewn 2 layers of 3 millimeter veg tan leather on this machine, so that's 6 millimeters of veg tan. It does do it, and it does walk through it. I don't think it's made for it, so I wouldn't recommend it for doing a lot of heavy leather sewing. But actually it is an amazing machine where it can chonk through. Again, I'll show you just so you can see. But they're great machines, they're fairly easy to pick up second hand, and there's very good parts availability. Let's show you the sort of thing this machine can do. So first of all, a bit of chrome tan leather. It's about 1.5 mil, might be getting towards 2 mil, but I think it's 1.5. And let's pop it in, foot down. And off we go. And it just breezes through this. I mean, it's absolutely no effort at all. And really, the patcher machines, they were made for, well, patching, repairing boots in the main. And they were very good at it. So a good sort of cobbler's all-round machine. Anyway, that's going through those layers there. No problem at all. If we double it up, so I'm now taking it through 4 layers. It's still doing it quite happily. It's struggling slightly there on the foot, the walking foot side. I probably need to adjust the foot tension. But that is doing it. So that didn't struggle at all actually. So that's 4 layers there of roughly 1.5 mil. So 6 mils of leather in total. It's quite a soft leather, but it walked through it, no problem. I'll go and get some veg tan and just put that through to show you. Here I have 2 quite thick layers of veg tan leather. And I'd say these are at least 3 millimeters each. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect, frankly, this machine to happily do this sort of thing, but let's just give a quick demo. Quite hard going in initially. Once you're in, it is managing it, and actually the handle is turning perfectly easily now. I am using a leather point needle, I should just say. It's a chisel shaped needle. There you are. So I mean, that has actually done that perfectly happily. And that is all stitched together perfectly firm. So it can handle that thickness of veg tan. I wouldn't particularly, as I say, recommend a machine for heavy stuff like that. Also, as you go up to this sort of size leather, you really want to be using a thicker thread. So, and there'll be a limit. This normally uses around about a 60 code thread. So that's, you know, not bad, but for some of the sort of heavy veg tan work I do on my other machine, it can take a 10 European measure thread, so, you know, obviously a lot more robust. But it can do it. So really all I'm saying is if you just want to start a good all-round machine, you do a lot worse than one of these. They come up quite cheaply and they're nice machines, fairly simple really. I'll show you a couple of things I've made, give you a quick idea. So here's a little leather purse in the shape of a mouse that I've made. Quite a nice little present for someone. And here I have a pole lathe tool cover. So again, it's just really a simple envelope of leather, and I've sewn on a little tie. So it just keeps the tool safe in transit, keeps the blade point nice and sharp. And I've double seamed this actually, so that if it breaks through on the first seam with the sharpness of the tool, hopefully it's a bit protected to the next one. Both quite simple projects, but really quite a good application for this sort of machine. So there you are, that's the Singer 29K, and it just turned the handle to make it work, and the little beam goes up and down. It's a little bit tricky to thread, so I'll just run through the threading of the machine. Well, first of all, to thread up the top of the machine, just have your spool of cotton. This is actually a tallow bath. So in the old-fashioned days, when threads had tallow put on them, you'd put a little bit of tallow in that bath. Nowadays, you just use the spring clip there and clamp it down. You then wrap the thread around the little bar at the top there and through the tension discs. And then through this little gate, little eye hook there, and then through the top spring arm, just there. Once you've done that, the next trick is to use a threading rod. It's just a metal bar, and all I've done is I've ground a little V in the bottom of this bar to hook the thread, because what you have to do is put the thread over the little hook, which is a bit fiddly, and then there's a hole in the top here of this arm, and you just feed the bar down and the thread goes down with it, and the bar comes out at the bottom. And the thread is there. Pull the rod out, pull the thread down, and then you pop it through the needle. So just raise the needle and put the thread through the eye of the needle. Now the needle is placed so that the eye goes crossways, and there's a groove on the needle for the thread which goes on the outside, eye on the left hand side. So just put the thread through the needle, which I'll do when I get a bit closer to it, and you're threaded there. So that's the top threading. To thread the underside of the machine is a little bit more complicated, because you have to take a shuttle and actually put it in, we'll put a new bobbin in it. So there's a little release clip here, swing the foot plate round, put it so that the shuttle side is at like 3 o'clock on a clock face, and then one can lift it out. That's the idea, out it comes. So here's the shuttle, and in the shuttle is a bobbin, and you use the bobbins with different colour threads. So the shuttle with the bobbin. Now what you have to first of all do if you're starting out is, with an empty bobbin, is get some thread on it. So first thing to do is to wind thread on the bobbin. Now, underneath the main hand wheel is this little wheel here, and you put the bobbin on this and it works on a little cam, so there's a little nut and bolt behind it, and you just slide it so that the wheel, the rubber tar of this little wheel, rubs on the big wheel, and then when you turn the big wheel, the little one turns. And all you then do is you get some thread, you put your bobbin onto the little wheel, so just pinch it with a bit of thread there. The little slot on the bobbin on one side only, that goes facing on the outside. You then turn the wheel clockwise, and you then find you can start winding thread onto the bobbin by turning the handle, say turning it clockwise. With the camera moved round, you can probably just about see that going on. So the idea is you fill up the bobbin with the coloured thread you want to use. That's about enough. Take it off, disengage the little cam, so that wheel's now free to turn on its own. So the next step is to put the bobbin into the shuttle. And to do this, one has the slot in the bobbin facing downwards. So the bobbin is now in the shuttle. So the slot facing downwards, and the thread, as you can see, is being dropped through. Okay, so pull the thread through that little groove in the side. There's a little leaf spring there. You need to get the thread underneath the leaf spring. Now, the other thing you need to do is put the thread through that little hole. Okay, so I have threaded that thread through the little hole. Then as you pull it, it will tend to go underneath that leaf spring. There, it's gone underneath the leaf spring. So that bobbin is now ready to go into the machine. And it goes that way round. So to put the bobbin back in with the shuttle, move the foot plate. There's a little spinny bit here. You turn the hand wheel, put that back into 3 o'clock position and drop your bobbin back in. Again, it's a lot easier without a camera in your way. There we are. And then just put the foot plate back in. So release the lever. Oops, does help if you raise the needle. That's it, and get your foot plate back in. So that's the lower part threaded up as well. So one can now do some stitching. If one works the machine off the treadle, then you can put the treadle belt around this pulley here. The engineering actually on this machine is beautiful. I mean, it's a lovely big wheel. It's just such precision, nicely made piece of kit. Solid, really is rugged actually. It may look quite delicate in places, but it's just so strong. I love them. This one's 1922. So, what, getting on for 100 years old. But actually, you can tell it's good because if you just tilt the wheel slightly one way or the other, you get an instant response on the arm there, which shows there's very little give on those cogs. And actually, I've had this one apart to clean it all up and restore it, and it really is in lovely condition. So it's quite remarkable, really. I had to do a bit of repainting on it here and there, but it is a very nice machine. Certainly a pleasure to use. One of the things I particularly like about this machine is actually it's got a walking foot. So do you see how the little foot, it sort of jumps forward and it pulls the lever through? And you can actually vary the stitch length by just adjusting the screw here at the back. But the other thing about this foot, which makes it quite unique, is you can twist these little butterfly parts around and you can actually change its direction. So you can do curves. I mean, you can feed it through by hand to get the shapes. But it's quite useful having that added feature. You can see there how I've done like a right angle in the stitching. And it really is quite a useful little feature, that. Well, I like it. It's a nice machine to use. It does a good job on sewing leather. And it's fairly versatile. And frankly, you can do quite thick stuff with it. So it's not a bad machine all in. And I think if you're just wanting to do fairly light leather craft, it's definitely an excellent machine to look out for. They're pretty robust, and as I say, the parts are fairly good, so it's worth having. And then if you move on to do more leather work later on, you've still got the advantage with this machine of having the nice long foot. Obviously it was sort of fitting up Wellington boots and such like. But it is quite a useful feature of that, because you can get deep into some items which you might not be able to get into with other machines. So as I say, I've also got a big harness maker's machine, which I use for my heavy stuff, but I do like this machine as a general all-rounder. Anyway, I hope you found that video useful. Please ask away with any questions down below, and thanks for watching.